Hi everyone, Byron Martin here at Logee's Greenhouses, and today we're going to be talking about begonias. Begonias actually have been part of Logee's for a long time. It was my family that got involved in them in the 1920s, so it's been about 100 years that we've been cultivating and hybridizing this genus or this family of plants. And begonias really have a great place in terms of indoor horticulture for house plants, and also in terms of their use in ornamental horticulture for bedding plants and in tropical areas for outdoor landscaping. Basically, within the begonia family, or Begoniaceae, the begonias, that's the genus that we grow, are grouped into several different types, and those types have their characteristics as well as their cultural needs and their ability to grow, say, in the home or not. Some begonias are very sensitive, others are really hardy. There are begonias that actually grow in arid areas, almost like desert plants. Spinosa is one, Pedicitifolia is another one, where they take tremendous amounts of drought stress. And you can imagine that in a home situation, that's perfect, because if you don't water them, they're fine, and you can go on for weeks without water and they're fine. So within the groupings, we have the Rex begonias, and these are begonias with very brilliant colored leaves, and they're quite showy. They have some downsides to them in that they do go into a winter dormancy, so they can actually almost go back into the rhizome, and that's the stem that's creeping along the ground. Most Rex begonias are rhizomatous in their structure, but not so much in the way they flower. And then we have the rhizomatous group, and actually that's one of my favorites, mainly because they are so enduring. One of the most famous in the rhizomatous group of begonias is Erythrophila or Erythrophila helix, also known as the beefsteak begonia, and there are people that have had those for 50 to 60 years, passed along from generation to generation. They just don't die. I mean, they take the stress of the home and lack of water and so on, and lower light. Then there's fibrous, and we will look at some of those. Those are actually the angel wing types. And then we have these oddball ones, like this one right here. This is Richardsiana or partita, and these are the semi-tuberous or caudiciform ones, and you can see right here the cortex that's forming at the base of the plant. And these can be used for bonsai culture, as well as just indoor plants that have kind of a crazy structure to them. This one hasn't been pruned back because we're harvesting seed off of it, but you can trim them back so the cortex is more visible. And they're really a dry land begonia. I mean, they take long periods of dryness. That's part of the cortex structure on them. So within the rhizomatous group, and rhizomatous meaning obviously they have rhizomes. You can see the very large rhizome on this older plant right here. Most of them are that way, and some have a little bit more upright habit to them. But there's many different color forms and structures to them. This one has a black leaf with a curly spiral to it. This is a hybrid that came off of Byron called Kit Kat, and you can see that it just turned into this huge plant, but the tiny leaves, and also they make great basket plants. You can imagine that plant clipped on a hanger and hanging up, and it would do very well. This is a hybrid we did called Solar Flare. It actually gets redder depending upon the light level. And that's the other thing about many begonias, is they can change, particularly rhizomatous and rexes, they can actually change their color from season to season, to the point where we sometimes get in our autumn ember really deep oranges, and this time of year the greens come in because of the high light level that they're being grown under. There's a famous one we did. It's made it to the big times in terms of the trade. This is Marmaduke. It's a very large one. You can see the size of the leaves, and it can get much bigger than this, particularly if it's grown in bedding outside. But it has this chartreuse leaf, and you can see the green coming in it from the highlight, and then it has the bronze or burgundy spotting on it. We did talk about rexes. There's one called Satin Jazz. I believe this might have been a hybrid of Mike Kartuz's. Out in California, and Satin Jazz is a little bit different than many of the rexes in that it doesn't really go dormant. It never drops its leaves, and it pretty much stays together throughout the season. Has a little bit more of an upright habit to it. Talking about fibrous, this is a famous one done by Pat Worley many years ago. This is Begonia Looking Glass. Still a very strong and vigorous grower, and it has been in the trade for quite a while and grown freely in tropical areas as well as for a houseplant. There's another Rex Begonia. This was done by Mike Kartuz years ago. This is Fireworks. It's kind of a small plant right now, but they get much bigger. These will get twice as big as that, but beautiful coloration on it. And it's been a staple in the world of Rex Begonias for a very long time. Mike has done quite a bit in terms of his life's hybridizing. So we talked about Rexes. Originally, they came from species, and there was Rex cultorum, which came into the, I think in the 1800s, and they started hybridizing that. And the interesting thing about Rexes is they have a flower stalk that comes up with just a few flowers on the top, not terribly showy. This is Sizemoreae, and this is really very much in the Rex cultorum type in that it has a rhizome, it also has a hairy leaf, but it also has that same flower structure that most of the original Rexers had. Then there's these begonias with these wrinkled leaves on them. This is Gehertii. It's almost like alligator skin or such things as that. And this one is fairly easy to grow as far as the species goes, but it is really more like a rhizomatous if we wanted to group it as such. These are some of the hybrids that we're working with in the rhizomatous group right now. There's some very interesting color forms that actually come out of this. Here's one here that has that kind of veining in it, or checkerboarding with red leaves. And you can see there's actually a green star in the middle of it. And then there's plants with these beautiful chartreuse leaves. This one we probably won't go forward with only because it's not as strong. When we're breeding, we try to pick the most vigorous we can to go forward. But we can still use that genetically to bring color into the hybrids. So here's another hybrid that we did with a very interesting leaf color to it. You can see it's chartreuse to golden with black veining, undulating leaves to it, and it's got a beautiful form. It's a nice little round plant. The petioles on the leaves are very short. I think this is going to be something that's worth growing as a houseplant for color. And also, we have to remember that the rhizomatous are actually quite showy in terms of their bloom. This is off-season. We're in the middle of the summer, but occasionally we have them flower off-season. You can see the flowers on a rhizomatous. They come up and they form this crown of male and female flowers that most of them are pink. We have some white ones that have pink, and they're varying in shades of pink. So some are darker, some are lighter. And that happens during the wintertime. So if you're growing them in the house, it's best to try to keep the plants in what we call normal photo period. You want to keep them away from a lot of continuous lighting so that they sense that decrease, and that stimulates the flowers on them. Here's a great example of a Rex Begonia. Now this is probably a lot less in terms of color than most Rexes are, because it's, you know, it's silver spotted, green leaves and so on. But this is really an indestructible. There are a few of them. Helen Tupel is another. Just can't kill it. It just survives. I've seen them on coffee tables in the middle of living rooms, living there for years, these begonias, and they seem to be pretty nearly indestructible. Got to choose the right variety, but Frances Valentine is one, and as I mentioned, Helen Tupel is another. And then we have the grouping of fibrous, and this is really a kind of a mixed bag of many different things. I would assume this is probably considered a fibrous. This is one of the hardy begonias. These actually can be grown outside in warmer zones, but freezing zones. They go back into their rhizomes in the wintertime and just kind of sit there and then come out in the springtime. Coloration is usually green, not terribly showy. We have one called Snow Capped. This would be an angel wing variety. And Cracklin Rosie, this is a famous one in terms of its color. It actually has spotting to it, but the spotting can actually be pink and very ruffled leaves. I spoke about some of the begonias that have tremendous drought stress on them because they come out of very arid areas. Kellermanni is another one like that, and it has what's called a peltate leaf to it. We see the petiole goes right into the center. It makes almost like a spider web on it. This is a very, very hardy begonia in terms of drought stress. And then here we have a fibrous one called Odorata, or Odorata rosier. There's a pink form of it. And these actually have odorata, meaning has fragrance to it. And there are some begonias that have quite a bit of fragrance. The hanging variety Solananthera is a great plant, winter blooming, that has a tremendous amount of fragrance to it. You stick your nose into it and it's quite sweet, as does Odorata. And this is actually grown as a bedding plant in tropical, subtropical areas where it grows very fast, very vigorous, and puts on a huge display of flowers. And so as we were talking about, like, what is it? So this one is kind of a Rhizomatous Rex fibrous all mixed together in one, but it's probably more classified as a Rhizomatous, I would think. This is Connie Boswell, which has these beautiful leaves, and they're silver with pink in them. However, Connie is a little challenging to grow. This is something that you definitely want to try after you've started in the world of begonias, because it does have a wintertime slump to it, and you have to be aware of that and then treat it as such. This Charles Jaros is very similar in structure and form, and this came off of a hybrid off of Diadema and Deliciosa, with that same upward growth in the very sharply pointed leaves. This is an old favorite. This is Elaine, and Elaine has been around forever. This is a angel wing begonia, can be grown as a basket or as an upright potted plant, kind of an upright and cascading habit in 2-in-1. You can see the flowers on it. It's actually been cut back. These are our mother plants, but it will flower all summer for you. It's not something as fast as cotton candy or dragging wings in terms of the flowering. You have to give it more time in terms of getting it into its fullness. So it's not something you buy in the springtime, put it in a pot, and have it turn into anything. You have to give it a good season, but it flowers for months for us. This is an old hybrid that we have. This came back to us via a customer. This is Pinafore. It's a hybrid that goes back into probably the 1950s, I would say. Pink flowers on it. It's an angel wing type, but very compact. Was one that was done here at Logee's many years ago. I spoke of Helen Tupel, and there she is. And you can see the coloration is a little more muted than many Rexes, but as I said, you can't kill her. She is just the toughest thing around, and really doesn't have that winter dormancy either I mentioned of. Madame Queen is a famous, this is when we get to the spirals and the ruffled leaves. Madame Queen is a Rhizomatous type. It's kind of a big grower, but you can see the leaves have all that crinkling in them, bronze with a red background on it, or kind of a bronzy green with a red background on it, and a strong grower. It's been around for decades. I'm not sure when the hybrid was done on that. And then in the world of begonias, there are plants that are whatever, fibrous, I don't know, but this is Foliosa, a great basket plant. I guess you could probably call it fibrous. It's weeping habit, and there have been massive specimens of this used in botanical gardens. And it really is a great plant. I mean, it goes on for a long time. Flowers aren't too spectacular, just these tiny little ones, but the foliage is very dense and it just weeps as it goes over. You can imagine this hanging from the crotch of a tree in a tropical rainforest, just cascading down many, many feet on old plants. And this is a fibrous, another fibrous begonia, very compact habit, pink flowers. They come through most of the summertime, called Lubbergii, which is a species, and it's been a good strong grower. We've had it around for many, many years. Right here we have another really cool begonia, Hispida cuculifera, which is an old species. You can see it has a leaf, a green leaf, kind of furry, and then little leaflets come out all along the leaf itself, and it's really a great grower. One of the old Rhizomatous, which is Earthophila helix. There's a beefsteak begonia. This is the spiral beefsteak begonia, and as I said, decades these have lived in homes and been passed down from generation to generation. There's the curly form. Here is the plain green form. This is probably more known than the spiraled one. This is the beefsteak begonia. Begonias have been in the Logee's family for over 100 years. Their texture and color brings beauty and form to both the indoor and outdoor garden. If you would like more information, visit us at logees.com.